Hi players, bonjour from Geneva, my name is Asaf and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today we're going to have a playthrough for Apis Mellifera that was designed by Drew Johnson and Henry Greenberg. Before getting started, I just want to tell you that this is a prototype, and even though this is a very advanced prototype, most likely things that you're going to see in this playthrough are going to be subject to change to the final edition of this game. Also, this project is going to be live on Kickstarter, so I'm going to leave a link down below so you can check it out. Ready to see how it goes? Let's get to it. Alright guys, so let's start by talking about the main board, which is obviously what you can see on your screen right now. So first of all, starting from the left side of the board, we can see that we have two types of cards. The first one is hive cards, which is sort of the action cards the player are going to have and they will be able to play. Also, we're going to have 3 season decks. Now, in general, in this game, we're going to have 6 rounds, but I'm going to go with one of the recommendations for new players, and that is actually doing the short version of the game, which is only 3 rounds. So we're going to start with the early spring, then moving on to the late summer, and finishing with the late fall. From the early spring, we're going to draw 2 cards, and those are going to be our season cards for the first round. Going below the board, we have objective cards, and we're going to draw from this deck 4 cards for this round. And in later rounds, we're simply going to add more objective cards. Now, on the main board itself, we can see that we have different locations, such as the Beekeeper spaces, the forge spaces, and also attack spaces. Now, in order to add a little bit to the replayability to the game, we're going to have tiles that we're going to place in the forge spaces, and that is according to the season. So the more we're going to advance with the seasons of the game, that means with the round, we're going to have less tiles that we're going to place on the board. So obviously now we're going to start with the early spring tiles, but later we're going to add some summer tiles, and at the last round we're going to have fall tiles. But don't worry, we're going to talk about it a little bit later. So now we can flip all the tiles, and that will reveal to us the different actions that we're going to have in this round. Above the board, we can see that we have 5 different types of resources, starting with nectar, pollen, honey, eggs, and also royal jelly. And next to it, we're going to have 2 types of tiles. One of them is wooden frames, and the other one is wax frames. And it will make much more sense in just 2 more seconds when we'll start talking about the player setup. Now, of course, each player is going to take one of their markers, and they're going to place them in the 0 space on the scoring track. So obviously, you can already understand that this is going to be a 2-player playthrough. Moving on to the player setup, we're going to have a few elements over here. So first of all, we have the main player board that is going to represent basically our hive. And even here we have a few locations. So on the right side, we'll have all the different actions that we'll be able to take in our hive. And those locations are not contested. That means that we'll be able to take them without the fear that any other player will be able to place the workers there. Then on the left side, we basically have the different resources that each player is going to start with, and they're going to be placed on the wax frames. Now basically pay attention that we have 3 types of, let's call it for 1 second, allocation. So the first one, as I said, is the wax frame, then we have the wooden frame, and then we have no frame at all. Now here I want to talk about the second change that we have with the short version of the game, and that is to add 5 wax frames. So basically in a normal game you would have started like this with only wooden frames over here, but since we are going to go with the changes of the short game, then we're going to add these 5 wax frames. Then we're going to have our species card, and also here I want to talk about a recommendation that they're having for new players, and that is to play with the regular honeybees. Now basically if you're just starting to learn the game, then again we definitely recommend for you to use this type of card, which makes the game symmetrical, no special powers or something like that. But later when we were starting to be a little bit more familiarized with the game, then you can use different species of bees that you'll be able to choose from at the beginning of the game. It's one of the steps in the setup. And for each one of these species, we're going to have strengths and also weaknesses that are going to spice up the game a little bit. Now again, since we're beginners, right, no need to jump above our heads. What we're going to do is to use the regular honeybees, and on the card itself, we're going to place some bees. So now I would like to tell you that the third change that we have with the short version of the game is that instead of using 11 bees like we would have used in a normal game, we're actually going to start with 15 bees. So those are what you can see over here. And we have, of course, the queen. On top of that, each player is going to receive 2 hive cards. Also, we have the supply of the bees and we have the first player marker. So now you can understand that the yellow player is going to start this playthrough. Apis Mellifera is mainly a worker placement game with some resource management and also a little bit of a take that element where each player is going to play as a beehive, and our goal is to basically build, grow and expand to be the strongest hive in the Beekeeper's collection. Now we're going to take different actions during the game. Those will be mainly to collect resources and then later to convert them to other resources that are going to give us either more victory points or we'll just be able to use them in order to do different things. Don't worry, we'll cover everything in this playthrough. And again, since we're playing the short version of the game, we're going to have 3 rounds. Each round is going to consist of 2 phases basically. The action phase, we're starting with the first player and going clockwise. Players are going to take 1 action that they will be able to take either on their player board or on the main board. The second option is that they will play a hive card that actually has the key phrase use as an action. And at the end, if they don't have any more workers or they will simply decide that they don't want to take any more actions, then they will be able to pass. Pay attention that a player that has passed is not going to continue taking actions in this round, so other players can continue taking actions until all players have passed. After all the players have passed, we're going to have the end of the round steps, and then we're going to start a new round. So with that, guys, let's go back to the main board and see what are the first actions that we'll need to do. So as I said, from the first season, which is the early spring, we're going to take 2 cards after we have shuffled this deck, of course. So it's very important to pay attention to the order that we're revealing the cards. Basically, what is the first season challenge, what is the second one. We're going to start from left side, of course, and the first one is sunny weather, which is very common to have in the early spring. That basically means that nothing happens, everything is cool, and we can continue. And the second card is going to be a little bit different, and that is the absent of the Beekeeper. In this card, they're basically telling us that all the Beekeeper actions are not going to be available. So all the 10 locations that we have on the board are not going to be available in this specific round. Okay, so let's start with the first player. That will be the yellow player. Again, you guys, as with all of my playthroughs, I'm not here to give you any kind of strategy advice, just to show you the flow of the game and also as many actions as possible. So just for the fun, let's start by taking some actions. And to be honest with you guys, the terms that we have in this game really challenge my level of English that is not high to begin with. So you're going to have to forgive me. I will not try to pronounce what we have over here with some of the actions, just a few of them. But in any case, the yellow player is going to start by taking this action right over here. So we can see at the bottom part of the tile, we have the cost. So the cost here is actually to take 2 bees and place it in that location. So we're going to go to the bees of the yellow player. We're going to take 2 of those tokens, and we're going to place these beeples. This is how they call them. So a mix of bees and meeples, beeples, all right. We'll place them right over here, and that will allow us to take actually 6 nectar and also 3 pollens. And we're going to place it in our hive, and pay attention that each one of these wax frame can only contain 2 resources. So it doesn't really matter where you're going to place them, but just for you to remember that each one can contain only 2 resources. So now the yellow player has finished their action. We're going to move to the blue player. Now, in case it was not clear, you can only choose an action in a location that there are no other beeples. So right now the blue player cannot choose to take this action unless, of course, they're going to do something that we'll see a little bit later that is called the waggle dance. So let's take another example of an action. Let's go to the attack spaces, and we're going to do the rob the picnic action. So that is going to cost 2 beeples. So the blue player is simply going to place these beeples right over here. Then they say that we'll need to roll a die, and we're going to add to that result 1 in order to take that amount of nectar. So let's throw it and see what's going on, and that is only 1. That is very unfortunate. So the blue player is going to take only 2 nectar to place in their hive. Moving back to the yellow player, they would like to actually continue and take more of this nectar, so you're going to understand why. So we're going to take another action that is actually pretty much the same as we've seen before. So we're going to take 2 yellow beeples and we're going to place them in this location. That will allow the yellow player again to take 6 nectar and 3 pollens. So right now you can see how quickly actually the hive is being filled with resources, which is definitely something that we need to think about a little bit later. So the blue player that is feeling a little bit hurt from last time is going to try their luck again by taking the action that we can see over here. Let's take for that 2 blue beeples, place them in this location, and then we're going to roll the die and see what is going to be the result. So come on, 5 or 6. Oh my god, this is a catastrophe basically. So we're going to take 2 nectar and also 2 pollens, and on top of that at least we can take 1 victory point. So the blue player is going to advance 1 on the victory point track, and we're going to place these resources in their hive. Moving back to the yellow player, they're going to take an action that is situated on their hive, and that is qualify for a hive objective immediately. So again, objective cards are the cards that we can see at the bottom of the board. Now in general, at the end of the round, each player, starting with the first player and going clockwise, will be able to to achieve one of these objectives. But of course, if you're the first player that is claiming that objective, then you're going to receive 3 victory points on top of that. So right now, they're going to take this action. That is something that is going to cost them 1 beeple. So let's place it in the hive. And then what they will be able to do is to claim one of these objectives. So they're going to go for the leftmost objective, because if you remember, we have taken 2 actions that allowed them to have 12 nectar. That means that we're going to take 1 beeple from their supply, pay attention, not from the board, and we're going to place it right over here to show that we have claimed that. That is something that is going to give them 5 victory points. So immediately we're going to advance with the yellow beeple on the track to 5 victory points. Moving back to the blue player, they definitely need a little bit of resources. So what they're going to do is to take this action that is exactly the same as we've seen before with the yellow player. So we're going to take 2 blue beeples, we place them over here, and that will allow them to take 6 nectar and also 3 pollen and place in their hive. Moving back to the yellow player, they would like to have a little bit more of hive cards. So the action that they're going to take is improved hive maintenance. The cost is going to be 3 beeples. So we're going to take 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to place it over here in this location, and that will allow them to draw 2 hive cards. So 2 hive cards we're going to draw from the main deck, and we're going to add it to the hand of the yellow player. Moving back to the blue player, they would like to have more wax frames in their hive. So they're going to take this action that is called wax frames. And you can see that we have 3 possible actions in order to add more tiles of these wax frames. They're going to go to their biggest action that is going to cost them 3 of their beeples. So let's take 1, 2, and 3 and place it directly on the board itself. And that will allow them to take 3 wax frames that we're going to take directly from here from the supply. And again, I remind you that we can place it only on the wooden frames. So I will not be able to immediately place it over here. I can only place it in these locations. Now, as you can see, those are locations that at the end of the game, if we haven't covered them, are going to be -1 victory point. And of course, if we have completely nothing, just like we can see at the upper part of the hive, each one of these frames is actually going to reduce 2 victory points from the total scoring. Going back to the yellow player, they're actually going to do the same thing since they're really short on spaces for resources. So let's take 3 bees, place them on the board, and again take 3 wax frames. Now pay attention that it's going to cost actually 1 more beeple if we're doing this action in the summer and in the fall. So it's pretty good that it's spring now, and I see that both players are taking advantage of that. That is something that you should pay attention to it as well. So we're going to do exactly the same. We'll take 3 of these wax frames and we're going to place them in the hive. Going back to the blue player, now that they have much more space for resources, they would like to take the next action, which is this one. It's just as we've seen before, but with 1 nectar less. So 2 beeples or 2 workers are going to be placed over here in order to take 5 nectar and also 3 pollen. The yellow player that is still very greedy with the resources actually would like to take again one of these actions, but unfortunately all of these spaces are occupied. So what they will be able to do is to do something that we talked a little bit before, and it's called waggle dance, and that will allow them to copy an action that is basically already occupied, even if that space is occupied by their own beeples. So they're going to first of all pay the price, which is to place 1 bee in this location, but on top of that you will need to pay the price of the location itself. So they're going to take 2 more beeples and they're going to place it in one of the locations. It doesn't really matter because these actions are the same. Let's say that they're going to place them right over here in order to again take 6 nectar from the supply and 3 pollen. The blue player would like to start converting some resources, so let me show you what is one of the options that we have. Let's take a look at this action that is called Make Royal Jelly. This action is going to cost 2 beeples. We're going to place them over here, and on top of that it's going to cost 1 nectar. So 1 nectar we're going to remove from our hive and we're going to send it back to the supply. And now what they will be able to do is to first of all take 1 victory point, so let's add 1 to the blue player, and on top of that they're going to take 1 royal jelly and also they're going to add it to their hive. Now this royal jelly is either going to be worth victory points at the end of the game, or you will be able to use it in order to make 1 reroll of the die. And as we actually saw before, that is something that can be very critical to different actions, not only on the main board, but actually for resolving different elements that we have in this game. Moving back to the last action that the yellow player is going to do, and that is to lay eggs. So some locations will require of you to use your queen. So the queen is obviously the biggest meeple that we have over here. They're going to use the queen and I'm going to place it over here. Just one moment, I don't want to cover it too much. And also 1 beeple. On top of that, they're going to pay 1 nectar and 1 pollen. Then they're going to place these workers here and they're going to take 1 egg token to place in their hive. Now this egg token, maybe you already guessed it, is going to become another beeple in the next round. Moving back to the blue player, they would like actually now to play one of their hive cards. So they have 2 of those over here. One of them they will not be able to use right now, but the other one that is called the Pest Trap is definitely an option. So on the card it says to gain the Pest Trap token. So this card we can simply discard. And now as you can see on top of the player board, we have 4 tokens that are actually corresponding to 4 kind of defenses that we have from different things. We have the Pest Trap token, Swarm token, Varroa token, and also Fence token. Obviously, right now we're going to have only the Pest Trap token, so we're going to take the token and we're going to place it in the corresponding location. That is going to indicate that this token is actually active and they will be able to use it later on in this game. And I'm going to tell you right from now that I have a feeling something will happen in the next round. Moving back to the yellow player, they actually don't have any more workers. They would not like to play a card, so they're going to pass. So the blue player can actually continue and take actions until they're going to pass as well. They're going to use the hive maintenance location. So let's take these 2 beeples, place them over here. That will allow them to draw 1 more hive card and place it in their hand. And now that they're going to continue playing, actually, they don't have any more cards they would like to play. They don't have any more beeples. The queen cannot do right now something on its own. So the blue player is going to pass as well. And that means that we have the end of the round. And we're going to see what is the end of the round steps. So first of all, we're going to qualify for hive objectives. So starting with the first player, and that is of course the yellow player, we're going to go for all the cards and we see if they have managed to actually fulfill something. So we already saw that the yellow player accomplished this objective. Obviously, they will not be able to accomplish it again. Then we're going to see if they have accomplished the second objective. Unfortunately, they have not. But the third objective, to discard 3 hive cards. That is something that they can definitely do actually right now. So we're going to take 3 cards from the hand of the yellow player. We're simply going to discard them, and that means that they can qualify for this objective. We're going to take one of the beeples from their supply, place it on this card, and that will allow them to have 10 victory points. From 5, we're going to go up to 15. Then the 4th objective card is of course not relevant for them, and we have finished with the yellow player. Moving back to the blue player, and they can accomplish this objective as well. So they're going to take 1 beeple from their supply, place it right over here, but that will gain for them only 2 victory points. So from 2, we're going to go up to 4. Unfortunately, they cannot accomplish the other objectives, so we have finished with this step and we're moving on. The next step is that each player is going to draw 1 hive card. So 1 for yellow, 1 for blue, we can add it directly to their hands. Then we're going to resolve the season challenge cards, starting with the first card, moving on to the second one. But of course, we already saw that with the left card we have nothing, and the second card actually was a challenge that took place during the round itself. So we're going to skip this and moving on to the next step, return and feed all the bees. So let me return all the bees off screen, and then we're going to talk about the next step. So now on the species card, as we can see, we have brought back all the bees, and we can see that the bees are aligned in rows. Now at the end of each row, we can see which resources we'll need to pay in order to keep the bees alive. So the first row actually does not require any kind of feeding, so we can definitely keep the first row. Then on the second row, we can see what is the price that we'll need to pay in order to keep them alive, and basically we can see that the price is similar in each row. So we can pay either 2 nectar and 1 pollen, or 1 honey and 1 pollen, or 1 royal jelly. So for the second row, the blue player is going to pay 2 nectar and 1 pollen. We're going to place it, of course, back in the main supply. For the third row, they're going to pay 1 honey and 1 pollen, again going back to the main supply. And for the last beer over here, unfortunately, that is a threshold that they did not really want to have, but nothing to do about that. They will decide actually not to feed it. It's not worth it to them. So that means that all the bees in this row are going to die. And this last blue beeple is going to be placed back in the main supply. The yellow player has a little bit more mercy than that, and this is also why they have acquired so many resources. So they're simply going to pay 6 nectar and also 3 pollens in order to keep all of their rows alive. After that, we're going to hatch the eggs. So for each egg token basically that you had in your hive, you're going to remove it from the hive and you're going to add that number of beeples. So in case of the yellow player, we're going to add 1, 2, and 3. For the blue player, we're going to have only 2. So let's remove these 2 tokens, and we're going to add 2 beeples into their species card. The next step is to reveal a new hive objective. So this is another card that we're going to have. It doesn't mean that we cannot complete the other objectives in the second round. Of course we can. It's just one more objective that we'll have in the new round. And we're going to have the end round bonuses. Now, since we're playing a 2-player game, at the end of the round, the player that has the most beeples, that player is going to receive 1 free honey, and the player that came in second place, of course that is the other player, is going to receive 1 free wax frame. With that, guys, we have finished the first round, and we're going to move to the second round, which in this case is going to be the late summer. So what we're going to do first of all is to discard these 2 cards. We can definitely remove this deck now from the game. It's not going to come back to us. On top of that, we can take all of these tiles out from the game as well. They're not going to be relevant anymore for this playthrough. In their spaces, we're going to place the next type of tiles that we have that correspond actually to the summer. So first things first, let's draw 2 cards. That's the first one, that's the second one. Soon we're going to resolve them. Then let's place the tiles, and we can see how the board is going to look in the next round. So those will be the new actions that we'll be able to take. And the first season challenge is going to be the raw mite infestation. So we're going to talk about it a little bit later. The next card is going to be robber bees. So those are 2 things, negative things, of course, that are going to happen at the end of the game, but we'll talk about them when we'll reach to that point. With that, the yellow player is going to take the first player marker and move it to the blue player. Of course, if we would have had more players, that would have been the next player going clockwise, and that means that the blue player now is going to be the first player. The first thing the blue player is going to do is to start making honey. So let's see how we're going to do it. We can see that we have the 3 spaces that correspond to making honey, and we want to make the most honey. That is, of course, going to be the most economical action. So we're going to, first of all, spend 7 nectar. There is no problem with that because we do have a lot of nectar right now. So 6 and 7, that is going to go back to the main supply. Also, we'll need to place here 3 workers. No problem at all, 1, 2, and 3. And that will allow us to gain 6 honey. So we're going to take 6 honey from the main supply and we're going to simply place it in our hive. The yellow player would like to start preparing for the attacks that are going to happen at the end of the round. So they do want to take this action right over here that actually is going to help them to defend from the Varroa mite infestation. That is going to cost for them 1 beetle and also 1 honey. So we're going to place this beetle right over here, and 1 honey we're going to simply bring back to the main supply. That will allow them to take the Varroa token and place it in the corresponding place, indicating that this token is already active. Moving back to the blue player, they would like to show you maybe how we're going to reroll a die in case we actually need it. So they're going to go to the garden. That is going to cost them 1 worker. Let's place it over here. And they're going to roll a die. Let's see what we're going to have. And we have a 6, so that's actually pretty sweet. They don't need to reroll a die, and that will allow them to take 2 nectar, also 2 pollen, and also 1 victory point. So the resources, of course, are going to be arranged in their hive, and we're going to move back to the yellow player. The yellow player would like to start thinking about the end game victory points, so they're going to take this action over here that is called large hive expansion. That first of all is going to cost them 2 honey that we're going to remove from their hive and place in the main supply. And on top of that, we'll need to spend their 3 beeples, so we're going to place them right over here, and that will allow them to gain up to 10 wooden frames. So up to 10 just means that if you had less before, now you can complete it. But basically we can now take this pretty large tile that we have and we're going to place it in their hive. So we're just going to cover this entire part of the hive, and now they will be able to start filling these cases with wax frames. So already they gained over here basically at the end of the game 10 victory points, right? Because instead of taking down 20 victory points, even if they're not going to have any wax frames over here, they're going to have only -10. So already a progress. And on top of that, as we can see with the iconography over here, they're going to also receive the swarm token. So the swarm token is what we have over here. We're going to place this one as well on our board. Going back to the blue player, they would like to copy this action. So first of all, they're going to place one of their workers on the waggle dance. Then they will need to pay the price. So we already know that it's going to cost them 2 honey and also 3 workers. So 1, 2, and 3 beeples we're going to place here as well. And that means that they can also take this tile of wooden frames and add it into their hive. The next action the yellow player is going to do is to place wax frames. So they're going to take 3 of their workers, place it right over here, but actually since now we're already in the summer, it's going to cost them 1 more worker. So instead of 3, it's going to cost them 4 workers. It's a heavy price, but at least they're going to sort of gain 3 victory points in order to take wax frames in the worth of 3 and add it onto their wooden frames. So we're going to simply add it just like this. Moving back to the blue player, again they would like to try and take some sort of a chance. So they're going to take 2 workers and they're going to try at least to place it again in robbing the picnic location. So let's roll a die and see what's going to happen. And we have here 2, which is not the result that they would have wanted to. So that means that they're going to get rid of one of their royal jellies in order to re-roll this die. This token is going to go back to the main supply. Let's see what we're going to have. Guys, this is really not a good day for the blue player. So unfortunately, they spent too many resources and they're going to take 2 of this nectar, they're going to add it to their hive. The yellow player is really happy with what's going on right now. Moving back to the yellow player, they would like to do something that we kind of missed the last round. So they would like to place their queen in the pheromone production. Again, I hope that I pronounced it correctly. So that is just something that is going to give them one more nectar for each of the foraging spaces on the main board. Now going back to the blue player, they would like to play a hive card. So in their hands now they have a card that is called Robber Bees. Steal 3 nectar or 2 pollen or 1 honey from any other player, and that is also something that counts towards the rob hive objective, which is something that we don't have right now on the board. So they're going to play this card. Little do they know that the yellow player has another card that is called actually Beekeeper Interference. Now this card is going to immediately cancel another player's hive card. So they're going to play it as a reaction to what the blue player did, which means of course that both of these cards are going to be discarded, and the blue player is just feeling not good today. They would like to play another game immediately after this one. Moving back to the yellow player, of course they would like to take advantage from what they did last time with their queen. So they're going to start collecting more resources, taking 2 beeples and placing them right over here in the bee balm space. So let's take 7 nectar and 2 pollen, right? 7 because what we did before with the queen in our hive. So all of these resources are going to be placed in their hive, and we're going to move back to the blue player. The blue player would like to continue and try protect themselves, so they're going to go and make some more royal jelly in case they will need to reroll some dice. And we saw with the blue player it can be very critical. So we're going to pay 1 nectar and also 2 workers. Let's place it over here in order to again receive one of these royal jellies and also 1 victory point. So from 5 we're going to go up to 6. Next, we're going to take some actions that are going to help our defense. So the yellow player is going to place 2 of their beeples over here. And that means that their propolis token, that is their defense token, is going to go up by 7. So from 1, we're going to go up to 8. The blue player is going to take the sourwood tree action. So that is going to cost them 2 workers that they're going to place over here. That is going to allow them to advance their defense token by 1. So from 1, they're going to go to 2. Also take 3 nectar, on top of that 1 pollen, and also 1 victory point for each honey that they have in their hive right now. So since they have 8 honey in their hive, they will be able to take 8 victory points. So from 6, they're going to go up to 14, and that is pretty nice for the blue player. Going back to the yellow player, they would like to continue and have more wax frames. So let's take 3 workers actually. Again, this is summer. We're going to place it right over here in this location. That will allow us to take 2 wax frames and place it again in our hive. So already, if you remember, we started this turn that the yellow player had minus 20 victory points at the end of the game. Now they have only minus 5 points, which is pretty good. The blue player would like to start laying some eggs for the next round. So what they're going to do is to take the lay eggs action, but at the highest tier, let's call it like that. That is going to cost them their queen, 3 workers, 3 nectar, so 1, 2, and 3, and also 2 pollens. All of these resources are going to go back to the supply. We can already place the queen and 3 beeples in this location, and they're going to take 3 eggs from the supply, placing it in their hive. Going back to the yellow player, they would like to even increase more their defense. So they're going to take this action that is called Apple Tree. It's going to cost them only 1 worker, so not so bad, in order to increase their defense by 2. So from 8, they're going to have the maximum of 10, and take also 2 nectar and 2 pollens. The blue player has only 1 worker in their supply, so what they would like to do is to make some honey. We're going to go to make honey at the lowest tier. It's going to cost them 1 worker and 3 nectar, and for that they will be able to receive 2 honey from the supply to place in their hive. The yellow player, they would like to qualify for an objective card immediately. they're going to take one worker, place it over here, and then take one beeple from their supply and actually claim the new objective card, which is to max out your hive's propolis, that is the defense tracker. So no problem with that, we have achieved that, and that is going to give the yellow player 7 more victory points. From 15, we're going to go up to 22. Going back to the blue player, they don't have hive cards they would like to play, they don't have any more workers, so they're simply going to pass. For the yellow player, they have one more worker, so what they would like to do is actually come over here and gain the pest trap. So one worker, and also they will need to pay 1 honey in order to place this pest token right over here on their board. And they're almost qualifying for another objective card, that is to have basically all of the traps on your hive. But maybe in the next round we will see. Now the yellow player is going to pass, so we're going to move on to the end of the round steps. So again, starting with the first player, we're going to qualify for hive objectives. The blue player would like to qualify for this objective. They're going to take the 3 hive cards that they have in their hand. They're going to discard them in order to claim this objective. So they're going to take one beeple from their supply, place it over here and gain 7 victory points. From 14, we're going to have 21. So we're still staying close. And even though actually the blue player had a lot of bad luck on the board, they're doing not so bad on the scoring track. After that, they cannot qualify for any other objective cards. The same goes for the yellow player. So we're going to go and draw hive cards. So 1 for each player that we're going to add into their hand. The next step is to resolve the season challenge cards. So let's start with the first challenge, and that is of course something that we're going to start from here. So this card basically says that each player is going to roll a die and then lose bees according to the result that they have. If they have the Varroa token, it's going to give them +2 to their roll. Now, as you remember, the yellow player does have this token, so that is going to help them a lot. But let's start with the blue player, and they hope for a good number. So let's see what they're going to have. And they have a 6, you guys. So all of the bad luck that the blue player had actually is really changing. And now, as we can see on the card, if you have a 6, you have no losses of bees, which is amazing for them. Now that it's the turn of the yellow player to roll the die, let's see what they're going to have. And since they have rolled a 4, and that means they're going to lose 2 bees, it is not something that they would like to counter or to add by discarding this token that they acquired at the beginning of this round. So they're going to let it be. No pun intended, but in any case, they're going to lose 2 bees. So we can choose, doesn't matter which location, take 2 bees from that location and just place it back in their supply. So this card we have resolved, and now we're going to go to the next card, and let's see what do we have. So rubber bees, in order to defend ourselves, we will either need to spend 9 propolis, that means our defense, or if we have this specific token that we've talked about before that is called pest trap token, or of course, sometimes we can even place bees here in the defense bee location. That is an action. And each bee that we're having is actually worth 2 defense. On top of that, every 2 bees that we have over here in the hive is going to be worth 1 defense. And we can use the bees before we're starting to take down our defense. So let's break it down and see how does it go with the blue player. Let's count first of all how many bees they have in their hive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Of course, the queen we're not counting. The queen doesn't count in order to defend the hive. So 10 bees, that means that we have 5 defense. 5 defense plus the 2 that we have over here, it's 7. It is simply not enough for us to defend with our bees or with our propolis or with a combination of them. The other option that we have is to actually discard our pest trap token. And what do you know? We do have this token over here. We can discard it, and that is enough for us to avoid this attack. If the blue player would not have had this token, the pest trap, then they would have lost 2 bees, 2 nectar, and also 2 honey. Now let's go to the yellow player and see what they would like to do. For the yellow player, the situation is a little bit different. So how many bees do we have over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means 4 defense. That is going to count first when they want to defend. So in order to reach to 9 defense, they will need to spend 5 of their defense with the token. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that means that without discarding the pest trap token, they have managed to defend their hive. Now that we have finished resolving both of these cards, we can discard them and we're going to move on to the next step. The next step is to return and feed all the bees. So just like we've seen before, let me take all the bees off the board and place them on our species card, and then we're going to resolve it. So starting again with the blue player, since they are the first player, they will need for each row, starting with the second row, to get rid of some resources in order to keep their bees alive. For the second row, they're going to take out 2 nectar and also 1 pollen. For the second row, they're going to take out 1 honey and 1 pollen. And for the third row, they're going to do the same. So 1 honey and 1 pollen. And all of these resources are going to go back to the supply in order for them to keep all of their bees alive. The yellow player is going to leave all of their bees alive as well. So that means that it's going to cost them 6 nectar and 3 pollen. The next step is to hatch eggs. So the blue player is the only player that has some eggs. We're going to take out these 3 egg tokens and we're going to add to them 3 beeples into their species card. Then we're going to reveal the new hive objective. So let's draw another card for the last round. And after that, we're going to have the end of the round bonuses. So of course, like we've seen before, the biggest hive is going to take 1 free honey. So that means that now the blue player is the biggest hive. They're going to take 1 free honey. And the second player, which is the yellow player, is going to take 1 wax frame. After that, we basically finish the round. But before we're going to end this playthrough, I want to show you how the last round would have started and how we would have calculated the end game victory points. So let's take out the card of the late summer. It's not going to be of use to us. Also, we're going to take all the summer tiles that we had on the board. Now we're going to shuffle all the late fall cards and we're going to draw 2 cards from it. So 1 and also 2. And pay attention that here we have actually a weather card that is going to affect also our board. This card can really change the game. But in any case, we're going to also place the tiles for the new season. So those are the tiles that are going to come into play. And also pay attention that the number of resources now on each of these tiles is starting to be lower and lower. And now let's talk about the end of the game victory points, since we're not going to actually take the third round. So at the end of the game, we're going to first of all lose victory points according to how many empty spaces, that means without wooden frames or wax frames, we have in our hive. Then for honey, players are going to receive 1 victory point for each honey they have in their hive. For pollen, for each 3 pollen, we're going to have 1 victory point. Royal jelly is actually worth 2 victory points if you have it in your hive at the end of the game. Swarm token is worth 2 victory points. Pest trap, 3 victory points. Varroa protection token, 3 victory points. Fence is actually worth 5 victory points. After that, if we have managed to keep our queen in our hive at the end of the game, the queen will be worth 5 victory points. And I can already tell you, in case you're wondering, that sometimes your queen can actually die. We can lose it, or we can sell it and have different bonuses. After that, for each 2 worker beeples that you have, you're going to earn 1 victory points. For the defense token, you're going to receive 1 victory point for each 2 advancement you had with your defense token. So the maximum will be, of course, 5 victory points. And then for the hive cards, basically, if you're still keeping your cards at the end of the game, you can see that at the bottom right corner of the card, you have the symbol of victory points. So if a card is staying with you until the end of the game, that is going to be worth for you the victory points that we can see at the bottom right corner of the card. And with that, guys, I'm going to stop the playthrough right over here. I hope that you learned something new or saw something that you like. Feel free to follow this Kickstarter project. I'm going to add a link down below in the description of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.